Good morning, Europe. It's Friday, the 6th of May. I'm Raul San. It's great to have you with us. Let's take a look at our top stories.
The UN plans more evacuations from the Azovstal steel plant in the besieged Ukrainian city of Mariupol as Russian forces continue to heavily bombard the site. An international donors conference in Poland raises over €6 billion for humanitarian and military operations in Ukraine.
Here in theCUBE, we look at a fake online video falsely claiming that Poland is sending its troops to Ukraine.
Russian forces are continuing to heavily bombard the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol. The site remains the last pocket of Ukrainian resistance in the strategically important southern city. The fighters inside the plant have accused Moscow of reneging on ceasefire pledges to allow trapped civilians to pass through. Vladimir Putin is calling on the fighters to surrender, but Kyiv says that's not going to happen. In Mariupol and Azovstal, the situation is actually critical. Russian troops are bombing Azovstal and continually trying to attack. Yesterday and overnight there were attempts by Russian forces to enter the territory. Our soldiers are heroically fighting back. The resistance will go on until the last bullet, as long as our strength lasts. Some civilians have managed to escape. The UN was able to escort a convoy of more than 300 people out of Azovstal on Thursday. They say another rescue operation is planned for today, if it's safe to go ahead.
So this is the second attempt to evacuate a number of civilians from Mariupol Plus and other areas around Mariupol city port. Today we are accompanied by 11 buses filled of civilians, women, children and elderly who are seeking safe haven.
What's left of the rest of the shattered city is already under Russian control. Clearance and restoration work is underway in the run-up to the 9th of May, the day Russia commemorates the Soviet victory over the Nazis. Some analysts believe that Putin could use the occasion to announce a shift in his strategy over the Ukraine war.
David Arahamia, the head of Ukraine's ruling party in parliament, said that Russian forces entered the steelworks where the city's last resistance has been holding out. The Kremlin has denied that Russian troops were storming the Azovstal steel plant and said humanitarian corridors were operating there. The commander of Ukrainian forces in the plant said, quote, difficult, bloody battles are being fought within the plant as there are civilians still trapped there, including the wounded. According to the Institute for the Study of War, Russian forces conducted a number of unsuccessful counteroffensives on the southern axis. Ukrainian troops say they have retaken control of a number of settlements on the border of the Mykolaiv and Kherson regions. In the east, Russian forces engaged in several unsuccessful ground offensives to the south of Izum and did not significantly advance efforts to encircle Ukrainian troops in the cauldron to the southeast of Izum and west of the Donetsk-Luhansk front line. Russian and Ukrainian sources confirmed that a Ukrainian counteroffensive pushed Russian troops back 40 kilometers from Kharkiv city. UK Defense Ministry says despite Russian ground operations focusing on eastern Ukraine, missile strikes continue across the country as Russia attempts to hamper Ukrainian resupply efforts. According to its intelligence update, Belarus land forces have been observed deploying from garrison to the field for exercises. This is in line with seasonal norms. Russia will likely seek to inflate the threat posed to Ukraine by these exercises in order to fix Ukrainian forces in the north, preventing them from being committed to the battle for the Donbas.
The spat between Tel Aviv and Moscow over Russia's foreign minister saying Hitler had Jewish blood has been quelled. In a telephone call, the Russian president himself, Vladimir Putin, apologized to Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, an apology that has been duly accepted. But others are being less forgiving towards Russia. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has once again accused Moscow of provoking the war with Ukraine and reiterated his call for it to stop.
Throughout my travels, I did not mince words. I said the same thing in Moscow as I did in Kyiv, which is exactly what I have repeatedly expressed in New York, namely that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a violation of its territorial integrity and of the Charter of the United Nations, and that it must end for the sake of the people of Ukraine, Russia, and the entire world.
Russia's representative at the Security Council ignored the accusations and explained that Moscow was provoked and continues to be provoked by the influx of Western weapons into Ukraine. US Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield accused Russia of spreading pure disinformation and called out countries who have failed to criticise Russia. Members should call on Russia explicitly to stop its aggression against Ukraine, she said.
The truth is well known.
Over €6 billion were raised for Ukraine at a high-level international donors conference held in Warsaw on Thursday. The conference was co-hosted by Poland and Sweden and attended by prime ministers and ambassadors representing many countries from around the world, as well as some businesses.
Today we came together with a very clear purpose: to support the brave people of Ukraine. The Ukrainians who are fighting the aggressor, they stand up for their freedom, and we stand up for them. We are now in the 10th week of Russia's brutal invasion, and 10 weeks during which the European Union stood firmly with Ukraine.
As well as the humanitarian crisis, the war has laid waste to towns and cities, with images evoking memories of World War II, an association made by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, as he addressed the conference via video link.
We are already preparing a large-scale recovery plan for Ukraine after the war and need a strategic international support plan for Ukraine that will be a modern analogue of the historic Marshall Plan. It is money, technology, expertise and growth opportunities that are needed to return to a secure life, to modernisation and to social development.
Much of the international community have responded to the war in Ukraine with an outpouring of humanitarian support. But with the conflict now in its 10th week, the humanitarian and financial needs in Ukraine have grown ever more acute, and today's fundraising event is unlikely to be the last.
Ever since Russia invaded Ukraine on February the 24th, both sides have, on social media, spread propaganda and false claims. This video has gone viral in recent days, predominantly shared by pro-Russian accounts. It falsely claims that Poland is preparing to send its troops across the border into western Ukraine to confront Russia, allegedly after a military general placed the army on high alert. You can see that the BBC News logo has been added to this footage. However, the video is fake. There is no online record of the BBC producing any such report on this story. And senior disinformation journalists at the company have stated online that the video has been manipulated and their company logo has been added later. What's more, there is no evidence that Poland is preparing to send troops into Ukrainian territory. We know that the country has approved military aid to its neighbour, but on Twitter, the General Command of the Armed Forces said that any such alleged document saying that troops are going to go into Ukraine is counterfeit and fake. It's not the first time we've seen the logo or branding of a Western news organisation being used to spread false information about the war in Ukraine. But Mariam, Polish officials and the government in Warsaw are saying that this example shows that Russia or pro-Russian accounts are also carrying out a coordinated information operation against Poland as well.